In this video lecture, we'll discuss about the properties of continuous time Fourier series. In the previous three lectures, we have seen different concepts and the theory behind Fourier series. Now we'll have a look at some of the important properties of Fourier series, which will help us to reduce the complexity of the evaluation of Fourier series. Alright, so we'll use some notations throughout this concept. One of the notation would be xt is any periodic signal and its corresponding Fourier series exponential Fourier series coefficient will be x of n. We'll make use of this notation throughout all the properties of Fourier series. And omega naught, which is the fundamental frequency, is 2 pi by t, where capital T is the time period. Omega naught is the fundamental frequency. Alright, so without further ado, we'll begin with the first property of continuous time Fourier series, that is linearity property. I hope you remember the linearity property. Any system or signal which follows the superposition principle is said to be a linear signal, right? So if we assume that xt is a periodic signal whose corresponding coefficient is x of n, whose corresponding Fourier series coefficient is x of n. Similarly, yt is another periodic signal whose corresponding Fourier series coefficient is y of n. So we can say that this Fourier series coefficient follows the linearity property. Hence, axt plus byt. If we have some third signal, let's say z of t, which is a linear combination of these two, xt and yt, then the corresponding, you can say this Fourier series coefficient, that is z of n, will be equal to a times x of n plus b times y of n. This is the linearity property. The same linear operation will be encountered at the right hand side, which signifies your Fourier series coefficient. Okay, if xt is a periodic signal, its corresponding Fourier series coefficient is x of n. For yt, the Fourier series coefficient is y of n. Then the Fourier series coefficient for the third signal, which is linear combination of xt and yt, axt plus byt, will be z of n, which is equal to axn plus by. So this is the linearity property of continuous time Fourier transform. Moving on to the second property, that is time shifting. Again, we take the same combination. If the Fourier series coefficient of xt is x of n, then if we have some let's say other signal y of t, which is time shifted version of xt, that is x of, let's say, t minus t naught. Okay, then the corresponding Fourier series coefficient will be, let's say, y of n, which will be equal to x of n into e raised to power minus j n omega naught t naught. So this is the time shifting property. If t naught is the time shift in the periodic signal, then the Fourier series coefficient will be multiplied by a complex exponential. And if we generalize this property, we can say that x of t plus minus t naught, the corresponding Fourier series coefficient will be x of n e raised to power plus minus j n omega naught t naught. This is a generalized version of this property. So this is the time shifting property. That means we are applying a time shift at the input signal. Moving on, third property is regarding frequency shifting. So according to this property, let's take the same scenario, xt, xn. Xt is periodic signal and corresponding Fourier series coefficient is x of n. So if we have another signal y of t which is equal to e raised to power j m times omega naught t into xt, then the corresponding Fourier series coefficient will be, let's say, y of n, that will be equal to x of n minus m. This subscript argument will be now changed. So this is the frequency shifting property, and if we generalize this property, we can say that e raised to power plus minus j m omega naught t into xt, the corresponding Fourier series coefficient will be x of n minus plus m. This is the generalized version of the frequency shifting property, given x of n is the Fourier series coefficient of xt. So the Fourier series coefficient of this combination of terms will be this. Fourth property is time reversal property. If xt coefficient is x of n, then the coefficient of Fourier series coefficient of x of minus t will be x of minus n. This gives you the time reversal property of continuous time Fourier series. And moving on, the fifth property is time scaling property of continuous time Fourier series. According to this property, again we take the same scenario, xt and xn is a Fourier series pair. You can say that xt is a periodic signal and x of n is the exponential Fourier series coefficient of the same. Then if we scale the time of this input signal x of t, that will result into some other signal, let's say yt. So x of at, the corresponding Fourier series coefficient would be, let's say, y of n, and that will be equal to x of n. Hence, there is no change whenever we scale the time domain of the input periodic signal. The Fourier series coefficient remains same. There is no change in the Fourier series coefficient. Okay, that means x of at, the corresponding Fourier series coefficient will be x of n only. For x of t also it was x of n, and for x of at also it is x of n. There is no change in the Fourier series coefficient when we scale the time. Next property, which is the sixth property, is periodic convolution. According to this property, if we have, let's say, two periodic signals xt and yt, and their corresponding Fourier series coefficients are xn and y of n, then let's say we have another signal z of t, which is nothing but convolution of these two, xt convolved with y of t, and what will be corresponding z of n. That will give us this periodic convolution property. So according to this property, z of n will be equal to x of n into y of n. That means we can say that xt convolution yt, the corresponding, the Fourier series coefficient of this corresponding signal will be x of n into y of n. This is the periodic convolution property. Convolution in time domain results into multiplication in frequency domain. Always remember this thumb rule, because we know this x and y, and these are Fourier series coefficient, which are nothing but frequency domain representation of the signal, time domain signal. So we can clearly see here it is convolution, and over here it is multiplication, right? So always remember this thumb rule, that convolution in time domain, it's a very important rule, convolution in time domain results into multiplication in frequency domain. That is the property. Moving on to the next property, that is the multiplication property. Alright, so according to multiplication property, again let us take the two cases. xt and yt are two periodic signals, and if we have another signal z of t, which is multiplication of these two, xt into yt, so what will be corresponding z of n? It will be just vice versa of the previous property, the convolution property. Here we have multiplication in time domain, so that will result into convolution in frequency domain. So xt into yt equal to z of t, its corresponding Fourier series coefficient will be summation k ranging from minus infinity to infinity x of k y of n minus k. And if you carefully analyze this coefficient term, this is interpreted as discrete time convolution of xn and yn. This is nothing but your discrete time convolution, of x of n and y of n. Alright. So this is the second thumb rule you can remember, that is multiplication in time domain results in convolution in frequency domain. Alright. Moving on to the next property is the differentiation property. Let us analyze this differentiation property. If again we have a Fourier series pair, that is xt and x of n, then let's say yt is another signal, that is derivative of xt, and the corresponding Fourier series coefficient y of n will be nothing but j n omega naught x of n, that is dxt by dt, and this j n omega naught xn are Fourier series pair. Similar to the differentiation property, the next property is integration property. According to integration property, for the Fourier series pair xt xn, we have another signal y of t, which is integral of xt the corresponding Fourier series coefficient y of n will be 1 upon j n omega naught x of n. This is the integration property, that is integration minus infinity to t xt dt and 1 upon j n omega naught x of n forms the Fourier series pair. 10th property is conjugate symmetry property. Alright, so according to this property, if xt and xn are Fourier series pair, then x conjugate t, for the x conjugate t, the corresponding Fourier series coefficient will be x of minus n, x conjugate x minus n. This is the conjugate symmetry property of continuous time Fourier series. So these are the 10 important properties of continuous time Fourier transforms, which will be used frequently while dealing with the Fourier series type questions. Next concept is the Parseval's theorem for power signals. Parseval's theorem for power signals. We are dealing as of now only with the power signals, because we are talking about periodic signals, which are power signals by default. So according to Parseval's theorem, or you can say the Parseval relationship states that the total average power in a periodic signal equals the sum of average power in all of its harmonic components. I'll write it down. According to Parseval's relation, the total average power in a periodic signal is equal to the sum of average power in all the harmonic components, in all of its harmonic components. That means we can say that if we have the knowledge of the harmonic components, then we can find out the power of the periodic signal, or vice versa. That is, it says that the average power, that is 1 upon T times of, this is the average power of a periodic signal. It is equal to summation of all the harmonic components, power of all the harmonic components, sum of power of all the harmonic components. So this relationship gives you the, this relationship is called as Parseval's theorem for power signal. That is, the average power of any periodic signal is equal to summation of the average power of all the harmonic components. Let us attempt one question based on these properties. The question says that if xt is any periodic signal and its corresponding Fourier series coefficient given is x of n, then it is asked that to derive the Fourier series coefficient of other signals which are combinations of the periodic signal xt. The first part is x t minus t naught plus x t plus t naught. Second is x of even of t, real part of xt. Second derivative of xt, and the fifth part is x of 3t minus 1. So we need to find out the Fourier series coefficients of these 5 signals. We are given the Fourier series coefficient of xt, that is x of n, and further we are given 5 different signals which are nothing but derived from the signal xt, and we need to find out the Fourier series coefficients of these signals. Let us begin with the first one. First one is x of t minus t naught plus x of t plus t naught. Alright. So we know that xt corresponds to x of n. The Fourier series coefficient, corresponding Fourier series coefficient is x of n, and the new signal consists of 2 different signals. At xt minus t naught, we can easily apply the time shifting property here. Xt minus t naught, the corresponding Fourier series coefficient will be x of n into e raised to power minus j omega naught n t naught, right? And similarly, the Fourier series coefficient of x of t plus t naught will be xn into e raised to power j omega naught n t naught, right? And now we can make use of the linearity property. Here we used time shifting property. Now further we can use the linearity property, that is x of t minus t naught plus x of t plus t naught. Its corresponding Fourier series coefficient would be x of n e raised to power minus j n omega naught t naught plus x of n e raised to power j omega naught n t naught, right? And we can further simplify this expression, and the final result will be 2 cos n omega naught t naught into x of n. This is the Fourier series coefficient for this signal. I hope it is clear, right? We made use of here time shifting property as well as the linearity property simultaneously to derive the Fourier series coefficient. Let us move on to the second part. Second part is we need to find out the Fourier series coefficient of even part of xt, right? Even part of xt, we know it is xt plus x of minus t divided by 2. This is how we can define the even part of any periodic signal, any signal rather. So here we know that xt is the Fourier series coefficient of xt is already known to us. We need to find out the Fourier series coefficient of x of minus t. We can easily easily find out that using time reversal property, and then further we can make use of the linearity property to find out the Fourier series coefficient of xt, right? So xt coefficient is x of n, x of minus t coefficient would be x of minus n. So xt plus x of minus t divided by 2, its coefficient will be x of n plus x of minus n divided by 2, right? So this is the Fourier series coefficient for x even part of xt, right? Moving on to the third part. Third part is real part of xt. We need to find out its Fourier series coefficient. Okay, we know the Fourier series coefficient of xt is known, that is x of n. Alright, so we know that real part of xt, somehow we need to correlate real part of xt or the desired signal with x of t. Real part of xt, we know it is equal to xt plus xt conjugate divided by 2, right? So we know the Fourier series coefficient of xt is known to us. We can make use of conjugate symmetry property to find out the Fourier series coefficient for x conjugate t, which is x conjugate t. The corresponding coefficient is x conjugate minus of n, right? Now we can make use of linearity property to find out the Fourier series coefficient of real part of xt. So the Fourier series coefficient of xt plus x conjugate t divided by 2 is equal to x of n plus x of conjugate minus n divided by 2. Yeah. Now the fourth part is second derivative of xt, right? So in this case we'll make use of the differentiation property twice, right? Because for xt the corresponding coefficient is x of n, and if we apply the differentiation property over here, which says that first order derivative of xt, the corresponding Fourier series coefficient will be j omega naught n times of xn. But we need to find out the Fourier series coefficient for the second order derivative, so we'll apply the differentiation property once more. So on this signal, so the second order derivative of xt, the Fourier series coefficient will be square times of xn, right? Which is nothing but equal to minus omega naught square n square times of x of n. Moving on to the fifth part. In the fifth part, we need to find out the coefficient for x of 3t minus 1, right? In this case, we can see that there are two operations performed on the signal. One is time shifting and another one is time scaling. Okay, so if we move from right to left, we see that first operation is time shifting and the second one is time scaling. And we are aware of the relation that the corresponding coefficient for xt is x of n. So we also know that for time scaling operation, the Fourier series coefficient remains same. There is no change in the Fourier series coefficient. So the only change comes due to the time scaling operation. So the Fourier series coefficient for 3t minus 1 will be x of n into e raised to power minus j omega naught n. Because the only change in the Fourier series coefficient will be due to this time shifting operation. There will be no change due to the time scaling operation. So we'll introduce the change due to only the time shifting operation here. This is how we can find out the Fourier series coefficients for different types of signal using the properties of continuous time Fourier series. Okay, so next question. We are given with a periodic signal, that is x of t. Plot is given to us, something like this. So here we know the time period we can clearly identify from here, it is pi, and the fundamental frequency, that is 2 pi by t, is nothing but 2 radians per second, and the given waveform in one time period can be analytically written as e raised to power minus t by 2. It's a declining exponential signal. It's clearly seen here that within one time period it is e raised to power minus t by 2. Now we need to find out its exponential Fourier series and its corresponding magnitude spectrum and the phase spectrum. Aim is to find out exponential Fourier series and magnitude and phase spectrum. This is the question. Okay, so the very first thing is to find out the Fourier series coefficient, that is x of n, which is equal to 1 upon t integration one time period xt e raised to power minus j n omega naught t dt. Right. Substitute the known values. T is pi, xt is e raised to power minus t by 2 minus j, value of omega naught is 2 and 2t dt. Right. Simplified further, it becomes e raised to power minus 1 upon, let's say, 2 plus j2n into t dt. Right. Simplify this integral expression, you get 1 upon pi into 1 by 2 plus j2n e raised to power 1 upon 2 plus j2n into t, and the range is 0 to pi. If you simplify it, you get 0.504 divided by 1 plus j4n. This is value of the Fourier series coefficient over here. And now if you substitute different values of n in this, for different values of n, like 0, plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, and plus minus 3, and so on, x of 0 will be equal to 0.504, x of 1 will be equal to 0.504 divided by 1 plus j times 4, and it is equal to, in terms of exponential, it is equal to 0.122 e raised to power minus j 7596. You can use calculators for these calculations as well. And now if you want to find out its magnitude of the first harmonic component x1, magnitude of this would be 0.122, and its phase will be minus 75.96. Right. Similarly, you can find out the magnitude and phase spectrum for different harmonics. let's say for x of minus 1, it will be 0.504 divided by 1 minus j times of 4 is equal to 0.122 e raised to power j 75.96, and its magnitude will be same, that is 0.122, and the phase will be equal to 75.96. Similarly, you can find it out for second harmonic component. And so on. And then if you try to plot the magnitude spectrum, find that at 0 its value is 0.504 and 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, plus 4, and so on. Values will decline. This is 0.122, and next value will be, if you check, it is 0.0625, and so on. So you'll observe that the magnitude spectrum is an even function, right? That we have already discussed. This magnitude spectrum is an even function. And on the other hand, if you try to plot the phase spectrum, and so on, it is at 0 it is 0, at 1 it is minus pi by 2, you will observe that the phase will remain minus pi by 2 for all the values of n ranging from 1 to infinity, and pi by 2 for the negative values of n. And you can clearly see the phase spectrum is an odd function, it is symmetric around the origin. So you can practice similar questions from the book, and in the next video lecture we will begin with the discrete time Fourier series. So that is all for continuous time Fourier series, and in the coming lectures we will discuss the concepts of the discrete time Fourier series, the properties which are exactly similar, almost similar to that of the properties of continuous time Fourier transform, and then further we'll practice a few questions based on the discrete time Fourier series in the coming lectures. Thank you.